What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we are having a look at the biggest mistakes people make when they're playing FPL, the things they fail to do, the simplest of things that will just give you a better season and a better overall rank. Is this mic on this time? Welcome back, everyone. FPL Harry here. Welcome back to another video. Today it is the biggest mistakes that people make when playing FPL. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when you're making YouTube videos is to fail to plug your microphone in, which I did the first time I recorded this. That was 15 minutes of my life that I will never get back, talking to a camera with no one recording. But at least hopefully I know what I'm going to say in this video. Thank you all so much for joining. We're going to hopefully do a little bit more of a streamlined option than what was going on at the start of this video. Smash that like button. We're going to try and hit 1,000 on this video. Make sure you've subscribed as well. A quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Fantasy Football Scout, someone I partner with, but also just a fantastic site. If you like articles, if you like videos, if you like data, XG, if you like models, if you like sort of predicted points, all of that, anything you need, the one-stop shop for FPL, Fantasy Football Scout. There is 30% off during preseason. I use it and I've absolutely loved using it over the last couple of seasons. It's definitely helped me get the ranks that I have got. So do check the link in the description if you do want to sign up. As I said, 30% off during preseason. But let's dive into this video. The biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes, to be honest, each of these could be massive mistakes. I see so many people making all of these. So write these down, bookmark this, whatever. It's not TikTok, but bookmark this video. Wasting your chips in FPL is such a massive mistake that people do, particularly playing them early on. No chip, apart from, of course, your first wildcard, should be played, in my eyes, before about game week 20, 25 onwards. None of those chips, bench boost, triple captain, free hit, should be played in a game week that isn't a double game week or that isn't a blank game week. Also, people who waste their wildcard after 1 or 2 weeks because they don't like the players that they've picked. Pick a good squad in game week 1, players that you trust and players that are proven FPL assets, and there's a limit to how wrong you can go. Save that first wildcard at least until game week 6 in my eyes. Try and go game week 8, game week 10 potentially, but don't go playing it in the first couple of weeks. People play those chips early on. They think they'll get a good boost in overall rank really early on by playing their triple captain in game week 1, their bench boost in game week 2, free hit game week 4, and then their wildcard again. And yeah, they'll be great. They'll be in the top 10k for the first 5 weeks and they'll look fantastic. Come the end of the season, they will not be there. So do consider you're playing for the whole season. Your chips are best played at the end of the season and just don't waste them. Don't care about where you are after 5 weeks because all those people up at the top have already wasted their chips. Mistake number 2 is the amount of transfers and -4 hits that I see people taking, particularly early on in the season. You need to consider that for every -4 you are taking, a player in your team, the player that you are buying, has to score a goal just to match the player that you are selling. If the player that you're selling scores, then the player that you are buying has to score 2 goals for that hit to be worth it or even start to sort of pay off. So for every hit you take, that is effectively a goal you are losing from your points going into that weekend or going forward. A lot of people take hits early on in the season because their player might not score for 1 or 2 weeks, but we've picked them at the start of the season for a reason because we know they're good players, we know they're good FPL assets. So do be patient, particularly at the start of the season. 4 points early on in the season over the first 5-10 game weeks can swing you 100, 200, 300k just by taking 1 hit, which is a massive rank swing. It can throw you down 5-10 places in your mini leagues just by taking a couple of hits early on in the season. So particularly early on, do your best to be patient with your assets. Plan your transfers accordingly. Transfers are so precious all throughout the season, but particularly early on and at the end as well when we have the least amount of information and we're trying to do the most with our teams. Again, those transfers, those -4s, they quickly add up. You might go a couple of weeks and not take one, but then 2 or 3 on the bounce and you'll really see the impact on your overall rank. I tend to take as few hits as possible. The weeks I do take hits, I'm pretty certain that I end up getting a red arrow in this week. They might pay off longer term, but generally the week you take a hit, you're going to get a red arrow. Tip number 3 is don't chase points and don't chase bandwagon players. There will be players at the beginning of the season who we don't think are good FPL assets at the moment, but they score 3 goals in the first 2 weeks and suddenly they are the most brought in player. They go up in price 2 or 3 times in the first couple of weeks. Everyone's buying him in and suddenly they're 50% owned. You do need to have a little bit of judgment about whether that's really going to be a good long-term pick. We have had some of them. Almiron last season. Then we of course had Jesse Lingard the season before. We had it with Patrick Bamford as well. There are some bandwagons who are worth buying, which is why this is maybe not so much a mistake, but it is a trap that we all go and fall into. You do need to, again, hits you don't want to be taking. So transfers are very precious at the beginning of the season. So just because someone random, like a 4.5 midfielder from Luton Town, suddenly scores 2 goals in the opening 2 weeks, just ask yourself before you go bringing him in after all those price rises, like everyone did with Josh Da Silva last season when he scored 2 or 3 on the bounce. Just ask yourself if they're really going to be worth it and they're really going to be long-term FPL assets. Now, there might be a couple of them which are worthwhile, but the amount of players who will score in game week 1 or 2 and they'll be the last time they score this season, just ask yourself that question about really, are they worth buying? Mistake number 4 is failing to plan ahead. Now, throughout the season, going from game weeks to game weeks, we only have a week. Some of us are very busy. So having a lot of time to plan your FPL teams can be difficult. That's hopefully why I'm here, to help you plan your teams a little bit better, to take a little bit of that weight off your shoulders with my videos. But a lot of people do struggle with the amount of time it takes to plan their FPL teams. However, the start of the season is the one time, apart from when there's World Cup break, that we get extra time to be planning and looking forward in our teams. We have 4 weeks between now and the start of the season. Don't spend the whole time making drafts and just planning for 1 week. Spend some time looking at how your team is after 4, 5, 6 game weeks, your potential transfers further down the line. When are there big fixture swings for some of the assets you might want to own? When are there fixture swings for some of the assets that might already be in your team? Use this as an opportunity to plan ahead in your team. It will save you transfers, it will save you -4s, and again, it will give you a better start to the FPL season. And if you do that, then you're in for a good run, because if you start well, you can just hold your ground later on. If you start really badly without failing to plan and you're taken your wild card early, you've taken lots of -4s, it's a long time to go until the next season starts and you can get a good start. So fail to plan ahead when we have so much time is such a rookie error. Mistake number 5 is picking differentials. Now, you can pick differentials if you like them. If you think differentials are good, then great, go for them. I'm not going to say no to picking differentials just because they're low owned, but don't pick differentials for the sake of it. And that's something I say a lot to people. Don't pick a player but just because he has low ownership. At the end of the season, it doesn't matter if you got points from people who are 50% owned or 5% owned or 0.5% owned. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season will be the people who have the best rank and end up winning all those mini leagues that you are in. Pick players that you think will score the most points and have them in your team no matter how many points, how much ownership they have. Now, if you think a player with 5% ownership is going to score the most points and you actually think that, great, go and pick them. But don't just pick them because they have that low ownership. Use ownership as a little bit of a tool. Points, expected goals, expected assists, all of that very useful. And ownership is one that's not spoken about a lot. It can be a good indicator of trusted FPL assets and players that could do a lot of damage to your rank as well. Picking differentials at the start of the season can lead you to be in a very dangerous position. If the highly owned assets that you are backing against do very well early on, just like with the -4 point hit, if you get on the wrong side of one big haul from Salah, from Kane, from Haaland, from Trent, and you don't own them and they do really well, that 10-point swing could be as much as 1 million places early on. So as the bottom point says, don't put yourself in a position to be unlucky. Try and start the season steady, then push on later on once people have blown all their chips and you have planned well. That is my strategy. It's what I've done for the past 3 seasons, finishing inside the top 5k, and it's what I'll be doing again this year. And actually, it was top 5 biggest mistakes, but the 6th one is something a little bit different, and that's just forgetting the deadline or forgetting about FPL in general. First of all, forgetting the deadline. If you forget the deadline early on in the season, you forget to make transfers, you forget to change your bench, you forget to change your captain, it can just completely derail your season early on because it will look like you've lost out massive ground early on. You'll get a big red arrow and you'll think, well, it's time to give up. But if you can remind yourself of every deadline and actually play through the whole 38 games of the season, you'll be beating about 75% of the game straight away who just don't finish the season. They get bored, they quit, their team isn't good, they've used up all their chips and they're just bored of the game. So yeah, they just get fed up and they just quit. If you can get to game week 38, I guarantee you, and if you haven't finished a season of FPL before and you get to game week 38 planning well, you will get the best rank you have ever had playing this game. The last 10 game weeks when everyone has planned for chips, when we have chip strategy, when we have blanks, doubles, we'll all be here to help you with that. You will get the best rank. It's when there's most points to be up for grabs compared to those who have already quit, even if they are still ahead of you at that stage. Again, Plan your team well, stick with it through the whole season. We'll be here to help to get you those best transfers, those players to buy, those players to sell, what to do with your team. But do not quit FPL and do not forget the deadline, whether it's streams, whether it's a reminder on your phone, just play through to game week 38. It's a simple thing, but if you do that, I'm sure you'll get a better rank than if you didn't. So that is my top, actually 6 biggest mistakes I see people making when they play FPL. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back on Friday for my latest draft. Friday's actually my birthday as well, so I'll have a little birthday upload for you. If you want to give me an early birthday present, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you have not already. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be back again very soon.